even the New York Times admitted that, quote, the 5 defendants seem more like South Jersey than seething jihadists.
Yeah.
And then I added, just using my words to say what the Times was saying, based on their backgrounds, their employment, their normal activities, and the trial evidence showing that there was nothing out of the ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these were 5 ordinary guys doing what many, many others in the country do and in other countries. And how do you convict people from doing normal, everyday things and yet say, even if it's not true, say they were plotting to commit a crime?
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what went on. So even the New York Times threw up a red flag and said, whoa, I mean, there's something about this that just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Well, I would say to the New York Times, if you made that statement, then why didn't you come down hard on the side of these innocent men and go at your government for daring to trump up a case to convict them? Why didn't your headline read that and come down on the side of justice to try to get this terrible decision reversed? The court of public opinion, Jenny, often is the most powerful. And when there's enough muscle in that court, then lots of things can happen to reverse the bad things that happen. And that's the reason that I write and the reason for this program, so that more and more people will know the awful things going on that harm all of us, either directly or indirectly, so that we can hopefully spread the word and begin doing things to defend ourselves. Because I have taglines I like to use. You know, today it's the Fort Dix 5, and tomorrow it's you and I, and people listening to this program. So I like to say, your husband, Tristan Duka. Today we're all Tristan Dukas. Who knows when someone may come for us? This is exactly what happened in the 1930s in Germany, where famous line was, I forget the man's name, that's terrible. I've quoted him. It's been quite a while. But the famous line about first they came for the trade unionists, and then the communists, and then the Jews, and then the this group, and then the that group. And every time I didn't do anything because I wasn't part of that group. And then they came for me. And there was no one left to defend me.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening here.
Yes, you got to remember, even for the target practice, they only went once a year. And that was only their second time going.
Once a year. Incredible, once a year. And they played a game called, what was the name of the innocent game? They played point ball, was that it?
Paintball? What's a paintball, It's paintball.
Pinball, I'm sorry. Pinball. Another innocent game, and they try to make some conspiracist deal out of that.
Yeah.
So innocent hunting once a year, and this pinball game.
Yeah.
You know, it's like maybe somebody else playing poker or something.
Yeah.
We'll turn playing poker into a crime. Or maybe stickball on the street. As a boy growing up, I used to play stickball on the street, baseball, except using a rubber ball or a tennis ball, and we played that all the time. Well, no one ever called us a jihadist back then, but again, this is such outrageous stuff that goes on. So these cases go before a jury. I've written about this many times, Jenny, where the jurors are literally intimidated to convict, and all sorts of things are brought on. And in most cases, the government claims it has secret evidence that it can't reveal because of national security, so they won't make it available to the lawyers. And the lawyers aren't able to countermand it. And this is another scheme. This is another part of the plot to make it harder to have a good defense against the outrageous charges that are brought up. We have another break we need to take. Let's do that, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Welcome back. I'm on with Jenny Duka. We're talking about her husband, Tristan, and the 4 other members of the so-called Fort Dix Five. Jenny, let me give listeners an idea of how the media talks about cases like this, and it can be publications. I want to read a few quotes. I'll read one from a publication I didn't know about until I found it, and the quote was so chilling that I included it. But mainstream papers do very similar things. They might be a little smoother in their language, but they're just as vicious. Let me first give a Department of Justice press release. This was on the conviction day on December 22nd. The Department of Justice, DOJ press release read, quote, 5 radical Islamists were convicted of conspiring to kill soldiers at Fort Dix, announced by the Assistant Attorney General and an acting U.S. Attorney. I mentioned both their names, and they go on to say, these men planned, trained, and ceaselessly talked unambiguously about their intention to ambush and kill U.S. soldiers. Other would-be terrorists of the homegrown variety, and I add a few of my own words to smooth out this statement, of the homegrown variety, be alerted that we'll spend millions of taxpayer dollars to find you, infiltrate your group, prosecute you, and send you to federal prison for a very long time. And then my line at the end, whether or not you're guilty. This is what the Washington Post had to say. That's about as mainstream as it gets. One of their writers, William Brannigan, he highlighted the conviction of, quote, 5 foreign-born Muslim men conspiring to kill U.S. soldiers at Fort Dix and other military installations. As part of what prosecutors charged was a plot to launch an Islamic holy war against the United States. And then Brannigan emphasized their plot to use automatic weapons and rocket-propelled grenades. This wasn't mentioned in the indictment, but he mentioned it. There was nothing about automatic weapons and rocket-propelled grenades, but he mentioned it. Then he goes on to say to use these to kill as many U.S. soldiers as possible. And he goes on. Oh, let me give a quote from somebody else. Well, I go down in my article. I say, Brannigan never questioned the legitimacy of these charges. They were completely bogus. He should have known it, but he never took the trouble. I never really cared. So he just spewed all of this stuff. If the Justice Department said it, guilty is charged before trial, before a jury has a chance to hear the evidence, before the writer himself or herself takes a look at the evidence and says, is this for real, or is there something fishy about this?